Welcome to Fresh Film Talk, where we highlight rising talent in independent film. Today's guest is Celena Reese, writer and director of the award winning psychological horror short Never Alone. Her film explores grief, trauma, and blurred realities and will premiere at the Black Film Series Thursday, June 6th at the Forest Park Branch Library here in Cincinnati, Ohio. What's going on, Celena Reese?
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for participating in the Black Film Series because I know your film is definitely going to leave people asking questions, and I'm glad you're going to be on that Q&A panel to answer those questions. So let's talk about Never Alone. So it attacks trauma, grief, and blurred realities. So tell me what inspired the story.
So I would say at the time I was taking my psychological classes through UC, so it was my double major, and I think just really learning about the human mind and just kind of how people struggle with their mental health that really heavily influenced my writing. And then also, I think something I learned recently is that subconsciously, I may experience something personally or just something I witnessed. I realize that it shows in my writing. So when I'm writing, I don't even intentionally necessarily mean to do it, it just kinda show, and I think at that time, I was dealing with, like, a toxic relationship, and I think maybe just, like, those feelings I was having, it kinda just showed itself in my writing.
Okay. You say you double major
Yep.
AUC. Okay. Got a brainiac on the hands here. Okay, see ya. And so was the mother-daughter dynamic, was that based on a personal story? Is that just something you observed? Tell me about the experience here.
So the mother-daughter relationship, it wasn't based on anything personal. I think really it was just kind of more of a I wanted to show a close connection between two people, and then obviously a parent-child kind of came to mind first.
Mhm.
And I know how intimate and just how close that relationship can be, and how some people's relationship with their mothers might be damaged or whatnot. And also, I think at the time, I had watched Evil Dead Rise that had just came out, and it kinda showed a single mother taking care of her kids, and it kinda just showed that in that movie of, her becoming possessed and kinda going through all that, so I think it, like, slightly kinda made me wanna lean towards mother-daughter.
Evil Dead. That's like what is that what Ash the Ash dude with the chainsaw? Evil
I think so, I
Dead?
think
Okay.
I think that's the original. I
Oh,
haven't really
okay.
seen the original, though.
Oh, you talking about the okay. Gotcha. Okay. And so like for the people that haven't watched this film yet, so like would you describe the daughter dynamic? Is it more of a toxic relationship or is it like fractured? How would you describe the
I
relationship?
would say possibly fractured, not necessarily toxic, just because what the main character Willow, what she reveals about the relationship,
Mm,
I think it could kind of be any mother daughter kind of bumping heads kind of thing, and then something tragic happened to the mother, and now it's kind of like the daughter is kind of living with that and feeling like it's her fault.
mm.
So yeah, I definitely think it kind of maybe had that normal argument component and maybe slightly fractured.
Mhm. So how did you balance? I know you mentioned your psychological major,
Mhm.
right? Is that you
Yes.
psychology
Psychology. Mhm.
psychology major. So how did you balance the psychological elements with horror to keep the audience questioning what's real, what's not real?
So when I first started writing it, I was thinking like, okay, I do want this to be more psychological. So everything she's experiencing is basically a manifestation of her grief, of her trauma.
Mm,
And then I kind of leaned towards like, wait, actually, I kind of wanted to be supernatural though. Like, maybe kind of show that there's this higher, entity above
what lean you more
humanity.
towards supernatural?
Really just the horror aspect, really. I think really just adding that horror component of having something that can't be defeated or can't necessarily be explained by, the average human.
So you're like a real horror fan.
Yeah, so I
Okay.
kinda just mixed the 2 together.
Okay. So let's talk about like the craft and the production.
Mhm.
So the film was praised for its original score and its sound design. How did you approach building the atmosphere through sound?
I would say so the person that I work with, Tariq Stallings, he has worked with me before doing my score for my previous films. And pretty much I would say our relationship working together is kind of pretty it's pretty easy. So I just kind of tell him like, okay, I really want to capture, the grief and just the feeling of being trapped or isolated or like the walls closing in. So I kind of really make sure I convey that to him. And if he has questions like specific scenes, I answer that. And whatever information I gave him, he just kind of take it and kind of does his thing, and we kind of go from there.
You strike me as what I say goes type of director, writer, director. When you on set, I don't know, like this image right here, I can see it like being the mask, but when you get on set, you strike me as like, okay, I'm the head person in charge. So tell me about like your leadership style.
So I would say my leadership style is that I definitely don't want to be like an authoritarian. So not necessarily like, oh, it has to be this way. Like I try not to be like that, kind of like a dictator. I definitely do make sure I leave it open for my team, whether that's actors or whatever, or cinematographer, if they have any like suggestions, like, oh, hey, maybe she could say it like this, or maybe we could do it from that angle. So I always make sure to be open and let
Yeah.
them express their opinions about it. And, one thing I would say that I really like my
Why do you feel
number
like that's important though?
because I think that it's important to make sure that everyone in your team feels heard. I think at the end of the day, when you're doing film, it's about collaboration. And, I think that trying to take too much charge as a director, obviously, you have to take charge,
Yeah.
but I think just trying to necessarily be, like I said, like a dictator and try to
Yeah.
control every aspect, it
Right.
kinda takes away from the experience for everybody else as well, and I think your production has a better chance to be, something great if you allow others to kind of voice their opinions and kinda collaborate and work together.
So would you say you're pretty like easygoing, open, or so?
Um, I think it's in the middle. I would say I'm easygoing and open, but if it's something that it does not line up
Mm-hmm.
with my vision, it does not match what I want,
Mm-hmm.
then of course I always tell them like, "Thank you for your input, but this is how I see it. This is what we're gonna do." So I make sure to
Mm-hmm.
kind of still put my foot down and let them know, if it's something
Okay.
that
That you the boss.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, what's your process as far as like directing the lead actress? Her name is Abby, right?
Gabby.
Gabby.
So
Sorry, Gabby.
Gabby, I definitely have to give her praise. She is an incredible actress. I met her through UC, and I would say I understand that with some actors, they need a little extra guidance, which is completely fine. And then there's some actors where like I think I can only tell them a couple times, and they nail it down and kind of give the performance that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And she was basically that. Like she gave the performance I was looking for. I only had to tell her like once or twice, and she was nailing exactly what I needed.
So let's rewind back a little bit. So you said you met Gabby at UC. So was she a student there as well, or
Yes, she
okay?
was.
And did you hold like a audition process, or what was that? How did you
Well,
get
actually,
signed?
so, when I met her, it was through class.
Okay.
It was for my directing class. We had to work with the,
You took a
acting
directing class
department.
too?
Yeah,
Oh, you
it
the
was
real
really
deal.
fun.
You the real deal.
So, we had to network with the acting department through
Mm-hmm.
UC. I don't know if that's CCM. And we basically my professor, he gave us a folder of a bunch of audition tapes of all the students, and I
Mm-hmm.
kinda went through them, and I kinda found her, I picked her, and the short film that I had to do for class, she was my lead actress. And from that, I really saw how talented she was.
Yeah.
So I told her like, "Hey, I'm doing Fright Film. I would love for you to join as the lead actor." So that's pretty much how it happened.
Okay. Okay. Organically, I like it. Um. So, can you tell us about like any specific challenges or surprises that you may have come across when making this film?
I would say any challenges, it would be timing. So I know the script was a little bit longer,
Mhm.
but there was just some things that we had to cut out just because we didn't have enough time. So one thing that I find very difficult in the process, since I kind of do it, is location scouting.
Okay.
So right now, what I do is I just kind of like rent Airbnbs. That's a time limit that you have that. So I know like,
And it's pricey too,
it
right?
is, yes. So I definitely had
So
to
you
try to
got
work
all
with
you
that
got all the money,
time.
huh?
I ain't gonna say that. I ain't gonna
But
say
you ain't
but
deny though either.
but definitely knowing that time frame I had, it's just kinda hard trying to get everything you need. And then like the restaurant scene, My cousin, it was actually her restaurant, and she was really nice to let us, use it before opening. So we had maybe around 3 hours
What
to
restaurant
shoot.
is it? At?
The Jazz Spoon Cantina.
Okay.
It's out there in, I guess it's like Forest Park area.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely. So I think since we only had a little time limit on that as well, it was a little hard.
Okay. Okay. And so, and just to paint the background for this film, so it's created for the Fright Film competition. If you don't mind, give us a little bit of like background, like what's the rules of Fright Film and how that all process went.
So fright film, you can't start shooting until the competition starts. So it usually start like at the very beginning of August or like the last week of July. And then you have about, I would say probably about a month or maybe a little over a month to shoot, to edit, and all of that and turn it in. The thing that they do is that they involve a cinematic technique that you have to use.
Mm.
I know for that project, it was a 1 minute continuous shot. And
Mm.
then you have to, include the prop they give, which was a glove. So that is the
Mm.
rules for
Shout out
it.
to OJ. So like, what was that like? As far as like the continuous shot. So was that difficult to shoot, or because I know sometimes with continuous shots, it's just like, look, you can't mess up. Everybody got to be
Yeah.
on par with each other in sync. Like no messing up. All right. So like with your continuous shot, was there any mess ups there, like at the final edit, or was it all like
I
was
think the continuous
executed?
shot, I think it was well executed. I think it was pretty easy. The continuous shot we chose to do was, Willow reading the mom's journal, and we hear the voiceover of the killer, and
Mm.
it was just kinda like a slow zoom in on her, getting her reactions. So I think it was pretty easy.
Pretty easy
Yeah.
peasy. That's what's up. So let's talk about like the recognition and the impact. So Never Alone has won multiple awards and nominations. So I mean, without bragging, you want to give us about like what nominations and what awards you guys won?
Definitely. So we were nominated for Best Cinematography, Best Picture, Best Original Score, I believe Best Editing, and
Dang,
Best Actress, and then I was
dang.
nominated for Best Director. But we actually won Best Original Score and Best Actress.
Wow, that's like what, 7 nominations?
Definitely.
And
So
this is your first fight film.
first Fright film.
First fight film, 7 nominations.
Mhm.
And you say you doing another one this year too?
Another one.
Man, look, you don't want the smoke. If you go on a fight film this year here in Cincinnati, this is your competition right here. I don't think you want that smoke.
Nope.
That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. She said, "Nope, you don't want the smoke." All right, so let's talk about the film success. So how's that shaped your confidence? Obviously, there's some confidence here with 7 nominations.
Definitely. So I would say before that, I've always been passionate about storytelling, whether that was writing or directing. I started off just like writing different novels and things like that and short stories.
Mhm.
And then I discovered one day, like, oh, I think I want to do more, with film and being able to actually tell a story, but making sure it's on screen for everybody else to see. So, I would say previous projects, I think it's like I knew it was in me. I knew that directing is something that definitely meant for me to do.
Mhm.
And then just from like outside people from like my mom or my best friend or like people I've worked with, they all had nothing but great things to say about my work. But I think there was always still a little bit of doubt like, okay, am I doing as good as I need to? Did I direct? Did I do that as well? So I think
Mhm.
there was just like deep down, just like a little bit of questions of wondering if I'm doing it right.
Yeah.
And then I think when we received all these nominations and then, I was nominated for Best Director, it
Hold on, say
really
that again for
kinda
the people in the back.
I think Yep, I was nominated that Best Director, and also it was 25 judges, that was viewing the films and picking the nominations and things like that, and they apparently was from around the country. So I think just hearing that and just
Mm.
seeing the nomination I got, I think it really did kinda feel something in me and kinda reaffirm like, "Okay, you know what? Other people do recognize your talent, they do recognize what you can do." So it kinda just made me wanna push harder and keep going.
So it gave you that validation. Yeah, yeah. So you would say it gave you that validation that you were searching for, would you say?
Yeah. I
Okay.
think really kinda that push, like, I knew it's something I could do, but I kinda questioned it too a little bit, and that
Mhm.
definitely just, like, gave it that push to kinda confirm, like, yeah.
Yeah, that's what's up. So, so let's talk about like the creative vision. So, do you naturally gravitate towards psychological horror, or is this a new genre that you had to explore?
No, I don't think I naturally gravitate towards psychological horror. I think
Hold on. So, the person that loves horror movies and a psychology major, you don't gravitate towards these type of
well, I
movies.
mean, I like them, but, like, as far as, like, making them, like, I
Mm,
never really, thought that it's something that I would necessarily do because I think the type of horror I like is, like, kinda that, um I would say fast-paced,
mm,
action-packed,
yeah.
kinda gory, that's kinda what something I've leaned towards, and I know with psychological, it's kinda that build up, that dread. So I
Mm,
never really necessarily leaned towards it, but, I mean, after that film and just
yeah.
moving forward is definitely something that I wanna keep on exploring in
So,
terms of
like, making a psychological horror, because you got the psychological aspect where it's
mhm,
just like, okay, I gotta pay attention what's going on. If I miss something, then it's pretty much just gonna,
right.
ruin the film. Like, and now I have to go back and watch it again. So you have the psychological aspect, and then you have the horror aspect where it's just like, you got a scary horror element. So it's just like when making it, is it like, does your head hurt? Are you having nightmares? What's going on?
No, I will say, when writing it, I will say it kinda put me in an uncomfortable position
Mm,
just of kinda getting in that mindset of, like, loneliness, isolation, grief, trauma, and kinda that dark place a little bit. So I
yeah.
know, like, even the writing process for me, it's kinda like, okay. I know sometimes I have to step back and, like, okay, I need a break from it, but, I feel like also it's just kinda in a sense now, it just kinda naturally it just kinda happens. It's not
Mm,
something that I necessarily put a lot of thought into, but I
yeah.
just kinda start writing. Whatever happens, happens.
And so, what are some films, filmmakers, personal experiences that influence your visual and your storytelling style?
I would say definitely movies like A Nightmare on Elm Street, Jeepers
Okay.
Creepers,
Okay.
House of a Thousand Corpse,
I don't know what that is.
Rob Zombie film.
Okay.
Uh, I can't think of any more off the top of my head, and I know, like, creators like Wes Craven,
Okay.
and I do like I can never say his name, Del Toro, I'll just
Yeah.
say that. I really like his use of coloring in his films. So I think all of
Hold on.
that
What's his name again?
I think it's Guillermo del Toro.
Okay.
I can never say his
I'm
name
just
right.
messing with you.
I can never say it right. So, I definitely think all of that, it
Mhm.
influences my writing, and I can't necessarily pinpoint what exactly, but I know just, like, it could be something just small that I notice in a film and I kinda subconsciously pick up on. I feel like a lot of times I just kinda store things subconsciously, and
Mm,
when I'm writing, I don't even realize that it's kinda coming out, whether that's with these filmmakers, with these films, or even, like, personal experiences or things that I've seen around me.
yeah, because you're a psychology major, got a lot to think about. Um, so let's talk about like looking ahead. So what do you have going on? What's next for you? Do you have like any new projects coming up, or what are you excited about?
So, I am doing Fright Film again this summer, and I'm excited about that, but I am also
She said
doing
y'all don't
a
want the smoke.
they don't. I'm really excited about it. I think it's gonna be real good.
Okay.
But I'm also doing a historical biographical stage play. It's
Okay.
about the first African American Oliver Lewis to win the first Kentucky Derby. So I'm really excited about that. I never done a stage play before, and I never written a
Uh,
historical
hold on, hold
biographical.
on, hold on, hold on. Going too fast. Going too fast. So let me get this straight. So how do you go from psychological horror film to a biographical stage play?
I know it actually happened because my mom, she introduced me to the executive producer, Anthony Hamilton. So this story is inspired by his great grandfather, Oliver Lewis. And she told him,
Uh,
like,
Anthony Hamilton,
yep,
like the singer.
I wish. But
That's
no, no,
oh
no,
okay.
no, no.
Oh okay. About to say all right.
But she told him that I write and we kind of got in connect
Mm,
and I told him I didn't tell him like, "Oh, Well, I only do horror, so I can't do it. I kinda wanted to step out of what I'm used to, and I told him I'll do it, and I did write it, and I was worried a little bit about it at first just
Mhm.
because it's something I never written before.
Yeah.
I would say any type of biography or anything historical, I
Mhm.
like it's not really something I wanna do, it's not my niche, but after writing it, it really showed me like, okay, I definitely am able to kinda be I don't know if I wanna say multi-talented, but just kinda
Now
dabble in
go ahead and
different
flex.
genres
Man,
and
go ahead and flex. That's what we do on this show. You know what I mean? Don't hold back. Go ahead and flex. If you
Oh.
multi-talented, go ahead and say you multi-talented. Go and you know what? Speaking about multi-talented, somebody told me it took you about, I don't know, about like 2, 3 weeks to write
Yeah.
the script for this
Yeah,
stage play.
it did, yep.
Shh.
I
Hey,
feel like
that
it's usually the writing process for me is pretty easy, like, I can really just knock it out in a quick time frame, I would say.
man, you know I'm a producer, right? So if I'm gonna throw some ideas at you, you know what I
Very
mean? And then you got something you can spit out in like a week or two, man. Definitely,
I
yeah,
can do
definitely.
it, I can do it, I can spit
Okay.
it out in about 3 days if you need me to, but,
Okay.
yeah, definitely.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So anything you want to tell the audience about what you got going on? Actually, one more thing we want to ask you. So what advice would you give women in color, women of color that want to either enter the horror genre or the indie film space?
I would definitely say it's understanding when you see the field dominated by men or white men, and especially when it comes to the horror genre, you don't really
Mhm.
see black women doing it. So
Mm,
I would say, really the best I can say is just like take action and do it. That's what I did. So I didn't really wait around, like sit around or wait for an opportunity to come. I think we have to create an opportunity for ourselves.
mm.
So what I
Speak
did
on it.
is I joined in different film groups and I kinda put posts out. When I first started filmmaking, I was a film student, so I kinda make posts, "Hey, I'm a film student. This is what I'm doing. I'm looking for volunteers," and I kinda got a response for that, and I kinda start building a relationship with different people through
So are these
that.
like film groups here in Cincinnati or is it like globally?
Um, I would say half Cincinnati and half just, like, Ohio in general, so
Okay.
maybe, like, surrounding areas.
Okay.
So, definitely just get out and do it really, and don't wait for somebody to give you that opportunity, but make one for yourself.
That's what's up. She said, "Go ahead. Can't wait for nobody. Go ahead, snatch it by the throat, and go ahead and do your thing. Do it yourself." That's what's up. Alrighty, and then I know there's one more thing I want to ask you, but is there anything else you want to tell the audience before we wrap up?
That's about it other than make sure you catch Never Alone, go see it, you won't regret it.
Won't regret it. So again, it will be screening here, Cincinnati, Ohio, at the Forest Park Branch Library, June 6th. Make sure to register. I will leave the link underneath this video. And then also, if you want to see more videos like this one, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. So when I upload something, you're gonna go ahead and watch it. I know you are. But thank you for tuning in and let's thank our special guest here, Celena Reese. You will see a lot more of her for sure. And then always remember, stay fly, stay humble, and stay fresh. Peace.